Hey there. So we're into a new week ahead, starting from Sunday, the 2nd of August, going right the way through to Saturday, the 8th of August. It's not going to be as busy as it has been for, I was going to say the last week, but actually what I mean to say is the last couple of months. This is one of those downtime weeks. That's not to say, though, that there's nothing going on for us. In fact, quite the opposite. In fact, I think this week is actually giving us space to be working on something very, very different. And I've put it down to 4 key themes. You could call them chapters. This to me is very much about 4 key stages in how we're processing the week ahead. On the 2nd, that's Sunday, we've got Chiron in a sextile to the mean north node. Now, that's interesting because Chiron has actually been in a sextile with the true north node too. The nodes at the moment, with the Aquarius energy and also the Pisces energy, I think is really quite sublime, because we feel like we are absolutely on the tipping point, on the edge of something. And I think that's really quite important. That is informing us a lot about things. And with the north node, or the mean north node, that's still in the sign of Pisces, the meaninglessness of life is coming up as quite a big theme. Because I think a lot of us can often carry on with life and recognize that everything is okay. And I think that's why a lot of people stay quite busy. We like to be doing one thing and another, because when we're practical, we don't have to think about those like longing questions that we might have behind the scenes, that almost like that ache. I think of it as an ache of belonging. Like, where do I really belong? Where do I really come from? All those big questions. And I think this week is actually opening them up quite a bit, because there's not too much to distract us. But with the sextile from Chiron to the mean north node, this to me is suggesting that our journey has reoriented. Chiron has also reoriented recently. Just a short while ago, Chiron was still in the sign of Aries. He's now in Taurus until the 18th of September, and then he's heading back. However, he's starting his backward journey from Monday the 3rd. So that's interesting. That's another stage in this week ahead. But from the 2nd, I really think the energy of Chiron, which has recently reoriented into loving kindness, to not beating ourselves up, to maintaining and steadying our nervous system, to being a lot more natural, to being a lot more grounded, to being a lot more in our bodies. I think that's the perfect antidote, actually, to those big questions like, where do I come from? Because ultimately, I think we are spiritual beings in a physical body, and Chiron right now is showing us we can heal our body, ground in our body. And when we focus on our body, actually, that could be the greatest spiritual action we take in our whole life is actually looking after what we've got, because it is a work of patience. It's a work of trust. It's a work of love. It's definitely a work of self-love, isn't it? Because if you're not in a place of self-love, you're probably not going to invest in looking after yourself. And then the North Node in the sign of Pisces, the mean North Node in the sign of Pisces, is linking it. It's almost saying, through your healthy body, through caring for yourself and caring for your nerves and caring for having enough rest. In fact, a wonderful person in my comments, sorry, I've forgotten your name, but it mentioned, if you're feeling depressed, it's because you need deep rest. I love that. How did I not know that? That's my big question. But this to me is really suggesting the deep rest. We've got the deep rest in the mind and also the deep rest in our body. And that's really what we're yearning for. And you can also see on Sunday, the moon is in Pisces, which is absolutely wanting you to enjoy yourself in the way of resting and not necessarily giving yourself too much to think about. So that's just showing you that your journey has reoriented into yourself as a spiritual practice. That's what I find really helpful. And of course, according to where Chiron is currently in your chart, that will really show you how you might be working with that in your body. And also where the North Node is, that might show how you are managing the magnitude of being a spiritual being. Like, how are you coping with that? I mean, very soon, from the 18th of August, we'll have the mean and the true node both in the sign of Aquarius. We've made that beautiful transition. And then, everything's going to get very participatory. Like, what are we participating in? And how does our participation help us feel oriented in our life? These are huge questions. So that's the first thing, is coming back into ourselves and recognizing that our story has already changed. The second thing I really see coming in from the third, which is Monday, and the healing is turning inward. So, the first step is recognizing you're doing this kind of healing in your body, to love your body and to look after the very simple metrics. So it's less about taking the right supplement at the right time. It's a lot more about, are you getting rest? Are you getting fresh air? Are you getting clean water? Are you seeing the sun a little bit every day? Are you doing what a natural animal might do? Like, are you behaving like a natural being? They are those questions. When Chiron goes retrograde, our healing is turning inwards. And so we are connecting to what comes up when we look after ourselves. Because, if we're not in the habit of looking after ourselves, obviously, we're going to put up a bit of a resistance. If you've ever struggled with yourself, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, where your ego will throw up something to just throw you off. And and I've done this loads of times myself, if you've done like 3 or 4 days straight of a new habit and you're feeling really good and feeling really groovy, and then all of a sudden this little nugget of something comes up to be explored and you're like, oh, now what? And then it floors you and you come out of your routine. That's what I'm talking about. So it's not that you're going to stop your helpful routine or be a problem to yourself, but you might notice those resistances coming up. And that's where your reflective healing approach, i.e. healing turning inwards with Chiron retrograde, you'll be quiet enough and still enough to recognize the resistance. So the moment something difficult comes up, stopping your natural, easy, simple decisions to love your life and love your body, that's a core resistance that's coming in to be explored. So that's the second phase really of this week ahead that feels strong. The next one I really see coming in on the 6th with Venus going into Libra. Now, Libra is the ruler. Venus is the ruler of. There she is. By is it Thursday? Yeah, Thursday the 6th. She's in Libra. She rules Libra, but she also rules Taurus, and Chiron's in Taurus. And what that means is Venus is she's the significator of Chiron. What this means is Chiron, like if you imagine that these are houses, I mean these are signs, but if you imagine this is a house and right now Chiron is visiting that house, maybe he's renting that house, Venus is his landlord. So like Venus has some oversight, she has some influence on Chiron. She's like maybe a governor or a teacher, or like I said, like landlord. She has some skin in the game, let's say. But the fact that Venus is just coming out of Virgo, where she can be a bit finicky and she's trying to apply poultices and things like that, and making nice healing vinegars and oils and stuff, and talking in your ear about your diet and how you can be more natural. So she's really quite fastidious. When she goes into the sign of Libra on the 6th, she's actually going to really help carry the healing forwards. She's going to really help and assist Chiron because she's in her own sign. She understands it. And she's going to do it with, a casual but really classy looking, what's the word? She's going to look good when she's doing it. That's the best way of saying it. Like, she has this great image. So Venus going into Libra is about making things harmonious, making things feel peaceful, balanced, calm. So the kind of nitpickiness and fastidiousness that Venus has in the sign of Virgo, and the groundedness, and maybe, the dirt under the fingernails because she's been doing the gardening and looking after her veggies. She's not going to be like that anymore. When Venus goes into Libra, she's going to be looking after herself. And actually, that might be one of the things that really carries the healing journey forwards for you, because your interest in how you look, how you dress, you might get the iron out, you might polish your shoes. Who knows? You might even, I'm saying this laughing because I've got wet hair. she might even blow dry her hair. So Venus going into Libra is absolutely going to be assisting the process. So again, that's the third stage. So if we go through it one by one, the healing, our journey's reoriented towards physical healing. The healing's turning inwards. Then Venus is carrying the healing forwards, making it easier, a bit more glamorous, a bit easier on the eye. And that can also feel very sensuous and also creative. So you might also find like art and sewing and making things also really helps. And then finally, and I love this aspect, it's a very, very grown up aspect where we're adulting and we're calmly pushing ourselves. We've got the sun in a trine to Saturn. And I love this because, in fact, in yesterday's episode, I was talking about transactional analysis with the sun, the moon, and Saturn, and how the moon is the child, the sun is the adult, and the role of the parent is played by Saturn. So we've got like the adult and the parent working together. This feels very, very grown up. Like you can take everything as information. You're not going to take things personally. You're going to stand up for yourself. You're going to represent yourself. You're going to look after yourself. You're going to take responsibility for yourself. You're going to be the steward of yourself, the midwife. You're going to be the good partner or parent to yourself. You're going to be what you need to be. And so I really see this last bit as building the life. And, they're the 4 key things that I'm seeing going on in this week ahead. And, we've got moon aspects. We've got 3 like main moon aspects on Sunday, 6 on Tuesday, a couple on the 4th. In fact, the 4th and the 8th, that would be Tuesday and Saturday. There's really not much going on. There's no exact planet to planet action, no ingresses, nothing going retrograde. It's just 2 moon aspects. And I will be exploring each of these every day, even though they're just 2 moon, almost like little tune-ups, like they're tiny little things, but they can, if they hit you hard in your chart, they can absolutely make things move. So they might be small, but we shouldn't ignore them. But you can see here that the 3rd, which is Monday, is a big day because there's 6 moon tweaks, you could say, or tune-ups, where the energy is really, really transforming. And then the same again on Friday. So Monday and Friday are your big days where there's a lot of themes coming up. And then Tuesday and Saturday are your days when it's a lot easier to relax and unwind. So I hope that's helpful. A slight sort of change of pace to some of the other forecasts I've done. But this is really just to guide you through quite a calm week ahead where we are focusing on ourselves. We're focusing on our own journey. Whilst, the world is doing its own thing, this is our chance to really work on us. And so I wish you a really peaceful, beautiful, calming and reflective week ahead. And hopefully I'll see you soon with some dry hair where I might be a bit better put together. I'm really living these stars as I'm delivering these to you. So anyway, loads of love to you. Take care and catch you another time real soon. Bye for now.